In the annals of true crime, certain cases stand out for their sheer brutality and the profound impact they have on society. The murder of Kellyanne Bates is one such case. Kellyanne Bates, a young girl filled with dreams and aspirations, met a fate that defies comprehension. Her tragic end at the hands of James Smith left an indelible mark on all who heard her story. As we delve into the details of this chilling case, it is essential to remember that behind the gruesome headlines lay a real person whose life was cut short in the most horrific manner. By doing so, it aims to shed light on the importance of recognizing the signs of abuse and the urgent need for intervention. Understanding the dynamics of Kelly's relationship with James Smith and the red flags that were missed can provide crucial insights into preventing such tragedies in the future. In the following sections, we will explore the life of Kellyanne Bates, the background of James Smith, the harrowing details of her murder, and the trial that followed. James Patterson Smith was not a man without a past. Born in Manchester, he was an unemployed divorcee known for his outwardly respectable appearance and meticulous grooming. However, beneath this facade lay a history marked by violence and abusive relationships. His first marriage ended in 1980, a direct consequence of his violent behavior towards his wife. Smith's violent tendencies did not cease with the end of his marriage. He soon entered into a relationship with Tina Watson, which was marred by severe physical abuse. Smith's cruelty escalated to the point where he attempted to drown Watson while she was carrying their child. Following Watson, Smith's abusive pattern continued. It was within this context that he met Kellyanne Bates, an encounter that would tragically seal her fate. Kellyanne Bates was a bright and spirited young girl, born in 1978 in Hattersley, Greater Manchester. She was loved by her family and friends, known for her bubbly personality and zest for life. Kelly enjoyed various hobbies, including swimming and socializing with her friends. Growing up, Kelly was a diligent student who had a close-knit group of friends. Her parents, Margaret and Tommy Bates, were protective and supportive, always encouraging her to pursue her interests and ambitions. However, everything changed when she met James Smith. At the age of 14, Kelly encountered Smith, who was then 45 years old. Despite her parents' growing concern and attempts to intervene, Kelly was drawn deeper into Smith's web. The relationship between Kellyanne Bates and James Smith was marked by manipulation, control, and escalating violence. Smith, a master manipulator, used his age and experience to dominate Kelly. He isolated her from her support network, making her increasingly dependent on him. Initially, Kelly believed Smith's attentions were genuine expressions of love. However, as time passed, the darker side of Smith's personality began to emerge. Kelly's parents, Margaret and Tommy Bates, noticed changes in their daughter's behavior. She became more withdrawn, often sporting unexplained bruises which she dismissed as accidents. The relationship became increasingly abusive, with Smith subjecting Kelly to physical and emotional torment. Events leading up to the murder. In the months leading up to her murder, Kellyanne Bates's life was a harrowing descent into a nightmare. By November 1995, she was living with Smith again, despite the tumultuous and violent nature of their relationship. Kelly's withdrawal from her job and social circles was a glaring red flag, yet she continued to stay with Smith. Her parents, deeply concerned, received cards from Kelly that seemed out of character. These cards, written by Smith, were a ploy to allay their fears and maintain the facade of normalcy. The couple's home became a prison for Kelly, where she endured unimaginable abuse behind closed doors. As March 1996 approached, signs of Kelly's dire situation became more apparent. Despite these glimpses of her suffering, the full extent of her ordeal remained hidden from the outside world. The discovery of the murder. On April 16, 1996, James Smith made a chilling phone call to the police claiming that he had accidentally killed Kellyanne Bates during an argument in the bathtub. He alleged that she had inhaled water and died despite his attempts to resuscitate her. However, the scene that greeted the police upon their arrival told a far more gruesome story. Kelly's naked body was found in a bedroom, covered in over 150 distinct injuries. Bloodstains throughout the house painted a picture of prolonged and severe abuse. The evidence pointed not to an accidental death, but to a sustained period of torture and brutality. Pathologist William Lawler, who conducted the post-mortem examination, described Kelly's injuries as the worst he had ever seen. The discovery of Kelly's body and the extent of her injuries shocked even the most seasoned police officers and medical professionals. A detailed account of the murder. The details of Kellyanne Bates' murder are both harrowing and heartbreaking. Over a period of time, she had been subjected to extreme and systematic torture at the hands of James Smith. Kelly's body bore over 150 separate injuries, including burns, scalds, stab wounds, and blunt force trauma. She had been starved, losing approximately 20 kilograms, and had been tied up by her hair and neck to radiators and furniture. The most grotesque injury was the removal of her eyes, which had been done weeks before her death, indicating a period of unimaginable torment. The cause of death was determined to be drowning, but this final act of violence was preceded by a brutal beating with a showerhead. Prosecutor Peter Openshaw described the case as one of the worst instances of domestic violence he had ever encountered. The horror of Kelly's last days is compounded by the realization that she suffered immensely, both physically and psychologically. The trial, defense and prosecution. The trial of James Smith for the murder of Kellyanne Bates commenced in November 1997 at Manchester Crown Court. Smith, maintaining his innocence, denied the charge of murder. His defense was based on a narrative of mutual torment, where he claimed that Kelly had driven him to the edge with constant taunts and self-harm. Smith's defense argued that Kelly's injuries were self-inflicted and that she had dared him to hurt her, painting a picture of a troubled relationship. The prosecution, led by Peter Openshaw, presented a compelling case against Smith. They detailed the systematic torture and abuse Kelly had endured, emphasizing the calculated nature of her injuries. After hearing the harrowing evidence, the jury took only 1 hour to return a guilty verdict. Judge Mr. Justice Sachs sentenced Smith to life imprisonment, recommending a minimum term of 20 years. The verdict and sentencing. The guilty verdict and subsequent sentencing of James Smith brought a semblance of justice for Kellyanne Bates and her grieving family. The swift decision by the jury underscored the overwhelming evidence of Smith's guilt and the heinous nature of his crimes. Sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 20 years, Smith would be prevented from inflicting harm on any more women. Judge Mr. Justice Sachs highlighted the severity of the case, calling it a catalogue of depravity. His strong condemnation of Smith's actions reflected the judiciary's recognition of the need for harsh penalties in cases of extreme domestic violence. The verdict was a relief for Kelly's family, who had endured unimaginable pain and suffering. However, the trauma of her death and the details revealed during the trial left lasting scars. The sentencing of James Smith served as a crucial step towards justice for Kellyanne Bates. Media coverage and public reaction. The murder of Kellyanne Bates garnered significant media attention, both for its shocking brutality and for the broader issues it raised about domestic violence. The media's portrayal of the case focused on the horrifying details of Kelly's abuse and the psychological profile of James Smith, painting a stark picture of the dangers of unchecked domestic violence. Television documentaries and news reports delved into the specifics of the case, highlighting the signs of abuse that were missed and the systemic failures that allowed the situation to escalate. Public reaction to the case was one of horror and outrage. The case prompted discussions about the need for better support systems for victims of domestic violence and the importance of educating the public about recognizing and responding to signs of abuse. 3S conclusion: importance of intervention. The tragic murder of Kellyanne Bates is a poignant reminder of the devastating consequences of domestic violence and the urgent need for intervention. Kelly's story underscores the importance of recognizing the signs of abuse and taking action before it is too late. Early intervention can save lives. It is crucial for friends, family, and the community to be vigilant and proactive in identifying and responding to signs of abuse. Support systems and resources must be readily available to those in need, ensuring that victims have a safe and accessible way to seek help. Kelly's story also highlights the need for systemic changes in how domestic violence cases are handled. In remembering Kellyanne Bates, we honor her by striving to create a world where such tragedies are prevented. Thank you for watching Hall of Crimes by Sun Life Media. Please remember to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell for more chilling stories.